Hi guys, I'm Alex Holmstrom, and this is the Alex at Bat podcast, and we have Jason Holmstrom. When it comes to anything to do with current athletic, throwback, or current sports news, we will always be at bat, and I mean always be at bat. In today's episode, we will be discussing some big NFL free agent moves so far.
So I know that recently, over the past week or so, Jalen Ramsey from the Rams, who you've been talking about here and there, cornerback, is now looking to take his skills down to Florida for the Miami Dolphins. Thoughts?
My thoughts is that Miami has definitely been aggressive, and they also picked up Tua Tagovailoa's fifth-year option, so they're definitely, I could tell they're trying to get their way to the Super Bowl. I mean, like, that's a big move right there.
So you think that the Jalen Ramsey trade is it wasn't a trade, it's just they picked him up in free agency.
No, they traded for him. Yeah, like draft picks and stuff like that. Yeah.
So the trade for Jalen Ramsey, you're saying, is building the foundation for a Super Bowl caliber team?
I think that trade is definitely bringing the hype, and and with Tyreek Hill already there and stuff like that, they're just getting better and better every year. I mean, like, could it happen? Yeah. And also, could it not happen? That is true, too. But, we'll see this year how it'll turn out to be.
I don't know how I feel about the Tua thing. I mean, I know that he wins wherever he goes. I know he has a history in college, and he's looked progressively better throughout his first few seasons with the Dolphins. But, I mean, you cannot bring up his name without some concern with the concussion and the concussion protocol and all that. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out, as far as they say that's their guy. They're putting their money where their mouth is. But it will be an interesting year for the Dolphins for sure.
Definitely agreed. I mean, like, Tua with his, accuracy, I know, like, Tyreek Hill was definitely going to, not – I knew they were probably not going to move the ball down, the field, like, with big plays all the time. They're going to run, like, a lot of shorter plays just because Tua doesn't have, like, that accuracy to, like, throw it downfield all the time like Patrick Mahomes did with Tyreek Hill. But, I mean, that is nothing –
Tyreek Hill said that he's more accurate than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that was just talking poop in the press or what. I mean, I know that the big argument, well, one of the arguments against Tua has been his distance. Like, accuracy in distance is a problem. Actually, just distance is a problem. He just can't throw the long ball. Although I did see a couple long passes, but he looked like he was throwing every bit of his weight behind his long throws. So
yeah, I definitely just feel like, after that injury in Alabama, that pretty much ended the season.
What injury?
I think it was like I can't remember exactly what injury, but I know it ended his season for sure. I believe it was like an ACL injury. And it looked bad. Like, when I saw him on the ground, when I looked at, back in the 2020 draft, it looked bad. Like, I think he had like a hard time getting up too. Like, and that was kind of like towards the end of the year, and that's why people were saying that's why he dropped, and that's why Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert were the ones, who were going earlier than he was. That definitely set him back in his draft, process. After that, Joe Burrow was definitely going to beat him in the, draft.
All right, so out of the draft, back into free agency here. So free agency, more moves. I know that good news for the Eagles. Actually, we're going to save that. Let's stick a pin in the Eagles because they are unique in that there wasn't as much movement. So more movement around the NFL. Where are we seeing guys going? I know Derek Carr's packing his suitcase. Explain a little bit about that, and then whoever else is taking their skills elsewhere.
So we also had some news before we go to the Eagles. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Right. And that's definitely big news for them after, Derek Carr went to the Saints.
Right.
And I definitely think they were in need for a quarterback. They got a good, they got a veteran quarterback. But I think my advice, to that team is definitely, or pretty much all the teams in that division, is to keep building good players in the Raiders, so they can compete with the Chiefs for years to come. This is definitely a rebuilding year for them, obviously, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, the Jimmy Garoppolo sign obviously made it, known that it was going to be a rebuilding year, and after the Derek Carr release. So Jimmy Garoppolo, is a Las Vegas Raider. I think that's a good move for them. They get a veteran quarterback after they just lost their backup quarterback too. But I mean, they're probably going to draft a quarterback in the draft as well.
I would hope so. I mean, you got to kind of hedge your bets with Garoppolo. He's not necessarily known to be the most consistent player. I don't know how it's looked at around the league, but it seems like his heart is in question, how much he actually wants to be there. I mean, I know maybe the situation in San Francisco was getting a little old and he got set back in the backup position, but it'll be interesting to see what a fresh team and a fresh start brings for him. Speaking of quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
No longer Green Bay.
Yeah.
How many years has he been in Green Bay? I mean, he's like 39 years old.
Since 2005.
Yeah, so a long time.
So that was
18 years or so.
18 years with the Green Bay Packers.
That's all he's ever known. So he's going to the Jets, correct?
Yes.
So why do you think they're bringing him to the Jets? I mean, they got a couple young quarterbacks over there. Are you thinking that it has something to do with mentorship? Are they really looking at Aaron Rodgers as a potential playoff run this upcoming year? What do you think are the reasons there?
So, Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet, and I definitely think they were in need for quarterback. People were wanting Aaron Rodgers, especially Ahmad Gardner, otherwise known as Sauce Gardner. He was begging for Aaron Rodgers. He was tweeting, and I think he made a video or something saying how he wants Aaron Rodgers to play for the Jets, and it clearly worked out to his favor. I think that they definitely need a quarterback that can at least bring them to the playoffs, because they've actually not made the playoffs since 2010. So it's been a while, and they're one of the longest drought of not making the playoffs in the NFL. So they're trying to. I know they're trying to break it with Aaron Rodgers, and they hired a new offensive coordinator, and that guy used to work with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay as his offensive coordinator. So I definitely think that was kind of the reason that kind of settled that.
It'll be interesting, too, because we've found our way up to MetLife Stadium the past couple years to watch the Bengals both times, right?
Yeah,
Jets and Bengals both times. So it'll be interesting to go up there and actually watch a guaranteed Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they play the Bengals this year, but definitely would have been.
Well, we'll have to find a reason to go up there then. Maybe if they play the Lions, or your next favorite team or something.
They actually play the Eagles, I think, there too this year.
Up at MetLife?
I believe so, yeah, because they played 4 years ago at the Eagles.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go up and see that game then.
Maybe. Who knows?
It'll be future guaranteed Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers versus future quite possibly Hall of Famer Jalen Hurts.
Oh yeah, and let's talk about
let's get to the Eagles.
Yeah, let's get to the Eagles now. Yeah. So obviously this whole offseason they're going to talk about extending Jalen Hurts. If I was the Eagles, I would not worry about extending his contract right now and give him a big bag of money. They need to focus more on getting guys, from other teams, not a lot, but, get some guys from other teams, bring them there, sign some guys, who were on the Super Bowl team last year. That's what they need to worry about first. Maybe during the training camp or in the middle of the season, they give him they give him a big contract.
So give us examples of players that have been signed that they've brought back. We got
Brandon Graham. We have Jason Kelsey.
Right.
And they've got this one guy. He was more like a depth player. Brett, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Toth. He wasn't a guy who was starting or anything, but I definitely think that he could compete for the starting guard position if Isaac Seumalo is leaving. So definitely, the Eagles are trying to bring back some depth players, and I know they're still trying to push for C.J. Gardner-Johnson to remain with the Eagles, but it's definitely really in question, especially about how much money he would want to sign. How much money he would agree with. Brandon Graham and Jason Kelsey are on one-year contracts, and I know they're getting towards the end of their career. So, they didn't really care. I know Brandon Graham didn't really care about the money. He just wanted to win a championship, he said, with Jalen Hurts.
Right.
And he definitely feel like I like the energy the players are bringing. So, with the Eagles, they're thinking, Super Bowl and stuff like that. And I definitely like that energy because it kind of gets people hyped for the Eagles.
Yeah, it gets them hyped for this upcoming year. I mean, I think that the losing in the Super Bowl, obviously, there's probably still a lot of sorrow and sadness in Philadelphia about that. I know it still hurts my heart to watch highlights of it. It's hard to talk about it, even with the Super Bowl. But it is interesting that they bring back Brandon Graham. They bring back Jason Kelsey. They got a veteran on both sides of the ball, which is great considering they're losing their defensive and offensive coordinator. So they lost those coaches on both sides of the ball, but they maintained those players. So hopefully those players will bring some mentorship, as they always have, and will help whoever is. Do we have it? Do we have names? The incoming defensive and offensive coordinators?
Brian Johnson and Sean Desi, I think his name is.
Brian Johnson.
He was the quarterbacks coach last year for the Eagles.
Oh, and he's offense now?
Yeah, and what's crazy? I didn't know this, but Jalen Hurts' dad actually coached him in football.
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah, in high school.
He still coaches high school ball.
Yeah.
He's still a high school coach.
Yeah, so, that definitely similarity makes people feel like that this could still be a good offense because an offensive coordinator, when they work good with a quarterback, their offense usually looks, pretty good, right. I would say. So, definitely, they lost some guys today in free agency. Javon Hargrave, he went to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe he got like a 4-year contract. I don't know the exact money he got, but I know they definitely gave him.
That's who they lost?
Yeah, the Eagles, and he was definitely a big key player for our team. But they're definitely Eagles fans. Some Eagles fans I know from the media and stuff are still not upset about that because we got drafted Jordan Davis. So this will definitely give him probably a good chance of competing for a starting role. He was kind of in that rotation defensive line last year, so I definitely think that he will get more opportunities this year since Javon Hargrave is leaving, and they're still unsure about Fletcher Cox coming back. He's a 11-year NFL player going in his 12th year. He's been with the Eagles his whole career. So there definitely is questions if they're going to bring him back or not. A lot of people are thinking no. We'll see with him. And then we lost Marcus Epps, TJ Edwards. He led our team in tackles this year. So I definitely think that Nakobe Dean, who we actually drafted last year as well, could be a good could also have a good chance of starting as well. So a lot of people are still not upset with these losses because it's time for the young players to step in their role. But I wonder if that will change if C.J. Gardner-Johnson leaves or not. He's still not signed with the Eagles for next season, but people are saying that there's a good chance. Someone from the Bengals was trying to recruit him too. Mike Hilton, and he retweeted something. He retweeted that, and he ended up deleting it a couple hours ago too. So we don't know what's happened with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It's been crazy. He was posting on Twitter a thank you video to Philadelphia, and that got fans, thinking that he was gone. He was not. He was out. Yeah. And he posted he has a TikTok, and it says NFL safety, and that's what people are concerned about, that type of stuff. And so, we'll see what happens with him.
Anybody else of any notoriety, Eagles or otherwise?
Oh, yeah. They signed this. We also lost this one player, but he was kind of more of like a deaf player. And it looks like that Miles Sanders is not expected to come back. I know teams have interest in him. I believe it's the Bills and the Dolphins have interest in him.
Okay.
And
Dolphins are.
Yeah, they're really trying to get all the good players, making some good moves. And
it's easy to get people in Miami, though. I mean,
absolutely.
Miami.
So, we'll definitely see how the Eagles will. I like that it kind of gives people good vibes that if the players are saying that they're wanting, they're hungry for that Super Bowl, especially after they just lost it too. So that definitely is getting people, thinking that we could possibly go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, like, we pretty much have the talent. We have a new defensive coordinator. I heard that he was not bad, but people were saying he's better than Jonathan Gannon was. He would definitely be better, and he was a defensive coordinator a couple of years ago for the Chicago Bears, and they didn't really have a lot of talent, but they weren't bad either. So that definitely got people thinking, like, this guy, he might be better, but we are not going to expect him to be, like, a great defensive coordinator. So, we'll see what happens.
Exactly get me excited.
Yeah, like...
I want to hear he's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so it definitely is a little...
he's not horrible.
Yeah, he's not horrible, which
but that's not a
definitely
good review.
Gives some questions, about him. But we'll see how that turned out. Maybe he has one of the best defenses. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? And we'll definitely talk about the Chiefs. So all they do is they release they lost some players as well, and then got some good players again. So. You can never say the Chiefs are completely out of, their seasons. You can't ever say Chiefs downfall because we heard that all year, last year, and that turned out to not age well. They lost some good players, but are getting I think they got some okay players, some decent average type of players, but we'll see how they do this year. You can never. I would just say you can really never count the Chiefs out. Whatever they do, really, and we'll see how they turn out as well. And definitely some questions about the Bengals too. They just lost their 2 starting safeties today. Jesse Bates was kind of expected, but. Since they both got...
Where's he going?
He's going to the Atlanta Falcons. And Von Bell, their other safety, is going to the Carolina Panthers.
Okay. Big contracts? Did they sign big contracts?
Yeah, like Jesse Bates signed like a 4-year contract, and I think Von Bell signed like a 3 or 4-year contract.
Money-wise, what'd they get? Any idea?
I think that they definitely got a lot of money. I can't remember. Like, a lot more.
In the NFL.
Yeah, so I don't remember the exact amount, but he definitely got a lot of money.
Paid.
Yeah, so with the NFL nowadays, that sometimes when the other teams are offering big money contracts, they're gonna go just sign with them, no matter how good they are and stuff. And I know some Bengals fans were complaining about that just saying like, oh yeah, they're just in there for the money, they're not in there for winning because the Bengals are a team that wins now. Went to 2 AFC championships in a row. I know they lost and won one, but still,
right.
They're back to...
They're always in position.
And the Panthers and the Falcons they haven't been in position for a while.
Right.
And so they definitely were like questions like, what are you, why do you decide to go to a team that is not winning, who has quarterback problems and stuff like that, instead of going to a team for less money and still trying to, win. And that's what people want to do. And that's why people were happy when Jermaine Pratt, their linebacker, he took less money. And I think he was only averaging like around $7 million a year, something like that. And he took less money to go and try to win a championship. Because they're in position to win a championship. I know people are saying like Joe Burrow, he is, he's never won a championship, but people forgot his career. Literally, he's only been in the league for a couple years. I mean, like, I think that, once they get everything right, it took Aaron Rodgers a while to win his first Super Bowl, and that took him year 6 to win his first Super Bowl, and Joe Flacco year 5. So I definitely think that if you give them a little time...
Did you just put Joe Flacco in the same sentence as Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I don't mean like I'm not trying to compare them to.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it took them a while.
My point was it took them a while, but I definitely feel like that could be the case with Joe Burrow. I think that they're in position to win a Super Bowl. Sometimes maybe next year.
Well, if you find
here.
yourself in the AFC Championship yearly, like on an annual basis, you're putting yourself in a position to eventually win a Super Bowl. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's going to happen. Well, I guess it didn't with the Bills in the 90s, but most times it'll happen.
Absolutely, and that definitely gives good vibes around that Cincinnati area. And
anything else?
I wouldn't really. I don't really have anything else for today. I mean, that's just the start of
we got
how NFL free agency. Like today, we just discussed about like the big moves and stuff like that. We'll get into the smaller moves
later.
There'll
be some stuff coming up too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I think why don't you take us home then?
This is the end of our NFL like free agency moves. We'll definitely get into other moves once we find out more information. And this is us signing off, and we'll discuss more about the NFL coming up. Goodbye.